Welcome, everybody, to another Haven of Horror review. Today we are talking about Buffy Volume 2. I couldn't figure out what the name of this arc was. I didn't see any images or anything with a title, unlike the first one. So we're just going to jump straight into it. This is an immediate downgrade in multiple ways. The first is the art. The art goes from bad to outright atrocious at times. There are certain faces in this which will give you nightmares, or at least it's going to give me nightmares. The book opens on a fight. We're just going to jump straight into the story. The book opens on a fight between Buffy and a vampire, and she is desperately trying to find someone to take her to Anya's shop, which we established in the first volume, because apparently Xander was not killed at the cliffhanger at the end. He was half turned into a vampire. I get it's a reboot, it's doing its own thing with the mythology, but that doesn't make sense to me. In the original continuity, when you became a vampire, a demon replaced you. There was no halves, ands, or buts. Now, obviously, you had things like Angel, who was a vampire with a soul, but he wasn't ever considered a half vampire. He was a vampire who got his soul back. Now, if they'd done something like that with Xander, I would have still questioned the decision, like I am here, but at least it would have made sense with what we know about the Buffy lore. I think when you're rebooting something, you are more than welcome to go your own way. But I still think it should make sense with already established lore, because what's the point of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, right? But it's just like, why? None of this makes sense. Vampires are vampires, I don't want to read your take on I don't want to read your take on a vampire. I want to read your take on the Buffy vampire, if that makes sense. So the first half of this jumps all over the place. Buffy goes shopping, gets this thing, but then they need another thing to tie someone's soul to Xander's. And so while Buffy and Willow are out on a treasure hunt, basically, Xander is being watched over by Giles in what is basically like a cartoony version of The Exorcist. This is where the bad art really starts to be noticed. There's some awful faces, and at the end of the day, Willow ends up binding her soul to Xander's, and it has an effect on both of them. I was really hopeful for this after the way the first arc ended. I thought that first trade was really good, and I thought there was plenty of room to build on. I thought it was an interesting cliffhanger, things like that. This just goes completely the other way, in my opinion. I don't know what happened. I would actually be interested to see, did they change writers? I didn't look into that. I should have. The new artist's art doesn't make anything easier. This was a very difficult read, and we've only covered like the first, I'd say, half, if not that. My notes for this were half as long as my notes were for volume 1, because this just was not interesting to me personally. We randomly throw Ginny in there for some reason, and it seems like she has some kind of connection to Giles, and Buffy already knows her, but this is the first time we've been introduced, which continues these comics problem of just throwing characters in there because you know who they are. We get more Robin stuff. Buffy and Willow are on the treasure hunt. They start fighting over it. I don't necessarily like that choice. One of the things I love most about Willow is no matter what, she has Buffy's back, other than like season 7. Or there's a few instances here and there, but nothing like this where they were literally ready to kill each other. And then Robin just shows up, and I was like, how did he come in? But we'll come back to that, because they don't touch on that for a while, and he kind of just disappears again, which I think is a side effect of this book, this continuity, trying to introduce 7 years worth of characters into, I think this covers through issue 10, and we've already got people from all kinds of different seasons. I don't know. It's very weird, but yeah. So then we're back with, the Soul Stone. And this is something that I did like, is that the soul bond is having a negative effect on Willow. She can't eat or sleep or anything like that. at least not much, and it's really taking its toll on her. Whereas we get the half vampire thing with Willow, or with Xander, I'm sorry. It seems like he's kind of like Blade, where he can go out in the daylight and he has all their strengths but none of their weaknesses. Because he can go out in the sun. I think he can eat food. Vampires in the Buffy universe can eat food, I believe. It just has no taste. Feel free to leave a comment below, fact checking that. And it's just, I will compromise to this degree. If you're going to introduce these new concepts, even if I don't like them, win me over on it. But it's just so focused on here's an idea, here's an idea, here's an idea. We're doing this, we're doing this. None of these ideas have room to breathe. Because one of the things that they do with Willow having those negative side effects of from the soul bond is that Dark Willow shows up in her head, and it's like this whole battle between them, and it's kind of like Willow conquering her dark side, I guess. This is where my eyes started to kind of glaze over, because none of it was horribly interesting, and it was hard to follow what was happening. But it doesn't make sense for Dark Willow to be here. She hasn't learned any kind of witchcraft yet. We'll get to that. And Willow fights Dark Willow and wins. And then she seems okay because we immediately skip forward to a Halloween party. I might be missing a few details here and there, but like I said, a lot of this is just like we're moving at such a brisk pace. Nothing matters. Just keep going, keep moving. We finally get a little bit. We finally follow up on that cliffhanger with Angel. He shows up at a party and awkwardly talks to Buffy. It's probably the best part of this book because that's the only time that I've felt like in this entire series that I've read Buffy and Angel together, like talking, interacting. So yeah, overall, this one is going to be a little bit shorter than the volume 1 because there's not as much story here to really sink your teeth into. It's just rushed through everything. But it does seem like we're setting up an event with the hellmouth. So hopefully that is good. We will see. I'm going to check and see if I can get access to Angel Volume 1, the Boom reboot, see where that falls in line with this new continuity. And that might be the book we do next. For now, I'm going to call it here. If you liked this, again, not a lot to say, not a lot to delve into yet, so I apologize for the length. But if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back soon with more Buffy discussions.